Developing now as we come on the air from Eureka. First, the opioid crisis.
He just had that big personality. He was just a great kid.
How one North State mother is reeling after the loss of her stepson. And calling in the National Guard.
The National Guard is here on my request.
The Humboldt County Sheriff getting help cracking down on illegal marijuana grows. Plus, the new reporting tonight. The man the Sheriff's Office calls a violent sexual predator. Tonight, the new possible placement. Also, the good cause. The event and local hospitals stepping up in the fight against cancer. North Coast News at 11 on ABC 23 starts now. Thank you for being here. I'm Nazi Javid, leading us off at 11. Addiction in the North State. Statistics show too many people are dealing with it on a daily basis, and for some, it takes the lives of the ones they love. Our sister stations, Dylan Brown spoke with a nurse at Mercy Medical Center in Redding about her story of loss.
There are so many good memories of Cameron.
A stepmother looking back and remembering how great her stepson was.
Cameron was the kind of person that when he came into the room, he just lit it up because he just had that big personality. He was just a great kid. It's the little things.
Recent statistics from the California Department of Health show in 2017 there were 2,196 opioid overdose deaths. The majority of them involved prescription opioids. Christine Stewart was the director of the intensive care unit at Mercy Medical in Redding for years. She saw the impact addiction has on a daily basis.
Heroin or opiate or methamphetamine issues, and it can be very taxing on your health.
And she recognized the signs in Cameron.
Little, when he was 2.5, his sister was murdered, and that affected him. And then when he was 12, his very best friend died in a freak skateboarding accident. And so right after that funeral, he started using, I think it was tramadol.
She says Cameron used the opioids to hide the pain from his past, but he fought the addiction.
When he was clean, he was Superman. He was so awesome. He had been clean for about 7 months. He had been in rehab, and something triggered him to go use. And that was the last time he used.
Cameron was only 28 years old when that addiction took his life.
Christine Stewart, S-T-E-W-A-R-T.
A year after his death now, Christine is helping those suffering from addiction, as well as those around them.
Take a look around. Do you have your medications locked up? Do you who are your kids hanging out with? What's going on in their lives?
She hopes these questions help parents watch their kids live their lives instead of remembering them.
Such a sad story, and Christine's story is one of too many. Statistics show men overdose on opioids far more often than women, and numbers show the age range for opioid deaths is large, from 15 years old all the way up to 85 plus. Turning our attention to immigration now. While political debate rages, the man newly designated to lead border security says the border is wide open and we don't know what's getting through. Mark Morgan offered this blunt assessment in his first interview since being named acting commissioner of Customs and Border Protection. He told special correspondent Lara Logan that the opioid epidemic plaguing every major city in this country is being fueled by illegal drugs coming over the southern border.
American people need to think when they hear about an opioid overdose and a death, the first thing they should be asking is, where did those drugs come from? Fentanyl is an example, right? Some people want to dismiss the crisis with fentanyl. Well, it's coming from China. Well, it is, but it's also coming from Mexico.
Well, it's being manufactured in Mexico now by the cartels.
Absolutely. And they got to your town in Ohio, in Connecticut, in Montana, from a well-oiled network of the cartels that operate not just in Mexico, but also here in the United States to get those drugs to your city.
Mark Morgan, a former FBI agent, said America's border cities are rarely, if ever, the final destination for the cartel's illegal traffic.
When the stuff comes across the southwest border, it doesn't stay in the border towns. It's a through point going to every city in this country. That's what the American people need to know, that what's going on the southwest border, it's happening in your county, it's happening in your city, it's happening in your state.
Morgan ran Border Patrol under President Obama, but did not survive the transition to the Trump administration until a few months ago, when President Trump chose him to head ICE, and now Customs and Border Protection. He's not been shy about speaking up and has drawn heavy fire from critics.
The only thing that I'm a hardliner on is the rule of law, and maintain the integrity of the system.
So what about people who say that that is immoral? Look what's happening to these families and to these children. How can you not be moved by that?
So there's a difference. I'm still a human being, so I am moved. I'm moved every single day.
But in Morgan's view, that doesn't allow him to ignore the law.
You don't want a law enforcement official selectively enforcing the law based on my political ideology or my moral compass. We have a statute that says if you are here in violation of federal immigration law, consequences should be applied, you should be removed.
Is it true that you're in favor of mass deportations?
I'm in favor of enforcing the rule of law, maintaining the integrity system, and doing our statutory mandated responsibilities.
So is that a yes?
Again, I stick to if you are here illegally, there should be consequences and you should be removed.
That kind of tough talk angers those who point to the human tragedy. We pressed him on the photograph of the father and daughter who drowned trying to cross the Rio Grande to get into America.
I felt sick. I hope we all felt sick. I do. I hope every American that looked at that felt sick.
The finger pointing has all been at this administration, saying this is your fault because of your policies. Is that valid in any way?
No, it's not. The fact that we're pointing fingers when you have a dead man and his little girl sitting there is just unbelievable to me. If that doesn't drive us to get together and fix this, I don't know what will.
In Washington, I'm Lara Logan.
And on Monday, Lara Logan is back with an exclusive about the ongoing efforts to stop the flow of drugs coming into this country from Central and South America. Last year, Customs and Border Protection's air and marine operations seized more than $3 billion worth of cocaine alone. Back in Humboldt, Centro del Pueblo wants more members of Congress to speak up about the detention centers for immigrants on the border, and they need your help. The organization invites the public to a vigil at Rona Park in Fortuna from 7 to 9 p.m. on Friday. They say they want to bring light to the darkness. Centro del Pueblo says the vigil will feature the presence of indigenous and immigrant leaders standing up in solidarity, calling for the conditions and treatment at the camps on the southern border to change. And True North Organizing Network Committee is also hosting a protest against what they're calling really bad conditions at the southern border. They say a candlelight vigil is going to be held for refugees currently imprisoned in border camps. The event will be this Friday at 8:30 p.m. at the Humboldt County Courthouse. It will include testimony and prayer from local immigrant community. The public is invited to attend, pray, and protest what they're calling inhumane conditions currently faced by migrants on U.S. soil. 3 men put behind bars in armed robbery and kidnapping in Ukiah. That's according to the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, who says the men were reportedly part of a larger group of 6 men who allegedly held 2 people captive with zip ties and duct tape in a home on Low Gap Road in Ukiah yesterday. The suspects reportedly forced the victims to open their safe at gunpoint and also took harvested marijuana and one of the victims' vehicles, among other things. The 3 men were arrested and booked on various charges. Turning now to the community outrage, the placement of a man the sheriff's office calls a violent sexual predator. We first told you back in April how a Humboldt County judge denied placement of Joshua Cooley in Freshwater. Then later, a judge denying placement in Garberville and in a motel in Eureka. This after major backlash from the community. Now, a judge will decide if Liberty Healthcare should place Cooley in Tehama County near Red Bluff. In 2005, Cooley pleaded guilty to 1 count of sexual battery and 1 count of lewd and lascivious acts with a person under 14 years old, according to court documents. The Tehama County Board of Supervisors expressed opposition to this yesterday, voting unanimously to send a letter to the Humboldt County Superior Court, urging them to reconsider the placement.
The reason they're trying to move them is because of them being denied placement, but it's still not really our problem. And so I would prefer that they manage it in Humboldt County.
The Tehama County Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney's Office both expressing their opposition too, saying Cooley didn't even commit the offenses in Red Bluff and could pose a danger to the surrounding community. The Humboldt County Superior Court has set a hearing regarding the placement of Cooley in Tehama County on July 19th at 8:30 a.m. DA Matt Rogers will be present at the placement hearing to further object to Cooley's placement in Tehama County. The president's embattled labor secretary is defending his actions on a U.S. attorney a decade ago. But that defense comes with no regrets from Alex Acosta and his handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case. Jim Acosta has the latest.
Under fire over a plea deal he once cut for multimillionaire sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Labor Secretary Alex Acosta defended his handling of the case during his days as a federal prosecutor.
No regrets is a very hard question. You always look back and you say, what if?
With new victims coming forward questioning whether Acosta was too lenient in the case, the secretary was asked whether he would have reached the same agreement today. Time and again, he pointed the finger at state prosecutors in Florida, claiming they were going to allow Epstein to avoid jail time.
Today's world treats victims very, very differently. Today's world does not allow some of the victim shaming that could have taken place at trial. I don't think we can say, take a case that is this old and fully know how it would play out today. We did what we did because we wanted to see Epstein go to jail. There is a value to a sure guilty plea because letting him walk, letting what the state attorney was ready to do go forward would have been absolutely awful.
The secretary made it clear he's not about to resign, talking up his relationship with President Trump while working in a plug for the administration's record.
My relationship with the president's outstanding. He has, I think, very publicly made clear that I've got his support. I serve at the pleasure of the president. I thought yesterday he was kind and he showed great support. We are here because we are part of an administration that is creating jobs.
A senior administration official told CNN the president's first instinct was to fight back against Democrats calling for the secretary's resignation. The official said Mr. Trump's attitude was, quote, screw him. The secretary also blasted reports that he's on thin ice with acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney.
Our relationship is excellent, too, and that any articles to the contrary are, in his words, BS.
In true Trump administration fashion, the secretary took a swipe at the media.
I've read this, and one of the things I find interesting is how facts become facts because they're in a newspaper. Thank you very much.
The question is whether the secretary's performance was enough to stay on. One of Mr. Trump's close friends was betting that his days were numbered.
I think the plea agreement he did is indefensible. I think that he's not going to stay for long.
As for Epstein, he is facing new charges of allegedly running a sex trafficking ring which involved underage girls. He faces up to 45 years in prison if convicted. Bringing out the big guns, coming up on North Coast News, how the National Guard is stepping up, working for the sheriff to crack down on illicit pot grows. We're digging deeper into what's happening in Humboldt. And speaking of helicopters, if you look to the sky and saw a chopper today, you may have witnessed part of an interagency training exercise. We'll explain. And it was a warm day, but a foggy night. So what's it going to be for the rest of the week, Mother Nature? Our first look meteorologist Jessica Birch will be coming at us from the Weather Center with the answer in just a bit. Those stories are coming up next. The time is 11:13. I'm Nazi Javi. This is North Coast News.